Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where and when you're watching us from. My name is Mutagiwa Shinawanyaga Mujiro wa Baria Karigi na Gwehoka Kumangogo Shadiri Chumaga Huho. Mulidayo, Dayo, Dayo. Today is the 16th day of July. The year is still 2023. And oh my, once we are here, it's always a good day. It's a Sunday evening and it is a beautiful evening. Today we're having a very interesting conversation. It's our 24th episode here in African Kona, and we're talking about patriarchy. Does patriarchy work especially in Africa, for women in Africa? Does it work? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Because, more often than not, we get to hear that patriarchy is a bad thing. It should not be embraced, especially for in matters concerning women, especially in modern Africa. It's not a good thing. But, we are here to ask the question, does patriarchy work for women in Africa? Is there a good thing about patriarchy? Can we say that all over those days that patriarchy has never been positive for people in Africa and especially for women? So thank you very much for you joining us live, for who is joining us live, and also send in your comments, your questions. We'll be reading them through. We'll be reacting to them. And let's just have a good time. And before we do that, let us introduce our panelists today. These are not new faces. These are friendly faces to the show. I can see we have Kimani and we have Natasha today. So ladies first. Natasha, you go first. Please introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, who you are, and anything you'd like to share with us today.
Ladies first, so much for patriarchy. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you'll be watching. I am Natasha Manda. I'm Dr. Actor Natasha Manda. I am a gender enthusiast and a psychology enthusiast, and I'm really looking forward to this show. Yeah.
Thank you, Natasha, for gracing us with your presence this wonderful evening. Kimani, please introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do, and anything you'd like to share with us tonight.
Yes, thank you, Ashera. So, my name is Kimani Wabwan. I am a student engineer, but I call myself a civil engineer.
Sorry, Kimani, please allow me to cut you short there. Check your microphone. Your audio is not good. Please go again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Like I was saying, my name is Mwangi Kimani. In a more diverse term, I say Kimani wa Mwangi na Irimo. Basically says Kimani, son of Mwangi and Irimo. I am a civil engineer, but I think I call myself an engineer today. And also, I am not a very conventional student of philosophy. Yes, I'm happy to have this discussion today.
Thank you guys for availing yourselves to have this conversation, and so that you can also learn. We have a gender expert today in the house, so we can get to learn a few things, and also just have these conversations. It's high time young people in Africa get to speak about these things that affect Africa. And on to my first question. Natasha, you've said you are a gender expert. What is patriarchy? We might assume that patriarchy is something that all of us know, but we might be talking about a different thing. Just tell us, what is patriarchy? For those who don't understand, explain to us briefly what patriarchy is. Natasha.
So I'm just going to use the explanation that was given in my first year of campus by a very, very nice male lecturer. Can I mention him? I'm not sure. But it was a man that taught me this. So I'm just going to echo back his words to you. He said patriarchy, and I'll say it slowly so that we get to understand exactly what you're talking about when you say patriarchy. Whatever he's been teaching his students, and I'm pretty sure it's something that is agreed on, is that patriarchy is the oppressive rule of older men, over young boys or young men, girls and women. So in this, wow, Chris has his eyebrows raised up.
Not only Chris, I'm also interested to hear how Chris will react to this.
Yes, let me repeat. Patriarchy is the oppressive rule over young boys or men, young girls and women. So in this case, patriarchy doesn't just affect women and girls, it also affects young boys or young men who are yet to pass or achieve a certain stage of initiation that allows you to see to the men. You understand? Yeah, that is patriarchy.
That is patriarchy, according to Natasha and the lecturer. But let us hear
according
what
to like a million other gender experts.
Much obliged. But I also want to hear what Kimani defines as patriarchy. Today, I want us to start from the definition. I understand this is a hot topic, and maybe it's good to establish that we are talking about the same thing. Kimani, what do you understand to patriarchy to be?
I don't know. I think I'll disagree a little bit with the gender experts and present a more lay-term definition, a layman definition. Because I would think that patriarchy has to do with like the word gender is sort of inscribed in there. So you cannot. I think there's a way you can define patriarchal systems without pointing out that difference between power systems between men and women. So I would define patriarchy as a societal system, which of course extends to economic and political systems, where men are dominant over women. I'll not put the word oppressive there, because I would think that I don't think patriarchy was born as an oppressive entity. I think it was made of. I think it was born as a very subtle concept, but it was turned into an oppressive system, which is, of course, it is. So I'll evade that term oppressive, and also eliminate the use of Natasha's word for that patriarchy is oppression to boys and men. No, I think it is, even if there is oppression, it is to another gender.
Okay, we hear you, Kimani, also with your definition. I can see some comments have started coming in. Baby Toto saying, a good evening. Good evening, Baby Toto. Indeed. Yeah, more comments coming in. I'll be reading them later through these other platforms. But before we get into that, we're talking about now patriarchy in Africa. Patriarchy, to be specific, in Africa, and especially matters pertaining women in Africa, in relation to it. Now, let us also hear your history now. How you guys understand the history of patriarchy in Africa, starting with Natasha. Tell us how you view the history of what patriarchy is, or rather has been over the times, especially in Africa. You're saying it is, it is oppressive. You'll tell us that, but just walk us through how you view it in historical ways. Also seeing Joseph Ombo saying tuned. Natasha?
Okay, so I have a feeling you're expecting me to give you dates and stuff like that. But I'm just going to like.
Don't give it.
I'm just going to give like how it started and how it's coming along until the 21st. We are in the 21st century, so how it is right now. I will say, and these are my very, very personal opinion and views. Initially, how patriarchy started, like Chris said, this is the first time I'm going to agree with you on the show. It probably did start as it wasn't supposed to be something oppressive. And then it later on evolved to become something oppressive. Now, why did men have an upper hand over women in the past? It's simply because in the past, it was about brawn. It was about brain, like who is the most intelligent to bring food to the table. It was more like who has the biggest muscle to protect and provide for the family, right? Eventually, this having the strength, and by strength I mean the physical strength that the men did have, it gave them a certain upper hand over women. And somehow they got to be the ones who make decisions for the families. And the women had to be sidelined from that. Because if you're looking at it, what are you bringing to the table? Women in this case had nothing that they are bringing to the table. Okay, not nothing really, but whatever they had could not necessarily be considered as important as the protection and provision that men were bringing to the table. All right?
Yep. Yeah.
And then over the years, we've had now systems coming, other forms of Now, where the oppression comes in is from these decisions that were being made by men about women. For example, FGM. That came about. I wouldn't say a woman sat down and decided, let's cut some parts of our body as initiation.
How sure are you? How sure are
I'm just
you?
saying,
You might be
now the
blaming men
women
on some things women decided.
now the women themselves were the driving force of it, because you have to go through this to be accepted by community. You have to go this to be eligible for marriage.
Mhm.
And marriage at that time was a very, very important thing to women. You grow up, you are groomed to be a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
You get exactly. So we had things like early marriages. You after FGM, maybe at 13 years, they look at a like 87-year-old and they decide somehow you're going to be his 10th wife. Why? Because he is rich enough. You know, he is rich, he is wealthy, he has a lot of animals, cattle, goats, cows, he will bring to your father. You see how it and this is not how men probably wanted it to turn out, but this is how it did turn out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've talked about FGM and early marriages. But right now, when we're looking at it, the patriarchy that is there right now, the one that women are trying to fight is we need to be the ones making decisions for ourselves. We need to have our voices out there. We need to also get jobs, get educations. We need to eradicate FGM. We need to take control of our sexual and reproductive health.
Mhm.
So that is one thing I wanted to understand. The way it started, it was who is stronger than the other. But the way it is right now, it is who is smarter, who has the
Yeah.
brains, who brings more to the table, not in terms of strength. It's
But
in terms of what are your ideas? How do we develop from here? Yeah. Yes.
thank you, Natasha, for that in-depth way of looking at it. You have mentioned FGM, some things which are true. They're not right. It's good to say that. But I also want to hear from you, Kimani. And looking now, we're still looking back at history, because I was having a discussion with you the other day, and you're telling me, part of the reason why society exists today is because patriarchy was. It is because patriarchy was. So, looking back at history, how do you view this patriarchy thing, especially in Africa, in the communities that we come from?
Yeah. Thank you, Ashira. I know if it was to discuss the origin of patriarchy in Africa, and before I specify to go into Africa, let me just discuss the origin of patriarchy, from a general perspective. So I'll agree partially with what Natasha is saying. I think that the origin of patriarchy has something to do with utility. And when I talk of utility, I'm talking about providing something, bringing something to the table. This gender is a man is bringing such and such, a woman is such and such. So I would assume that if the theories of evolution that we are taught, or maybe the Christian theories that we are taught are true, then the very first basic need that humanity was looking for is food and maybe shelter. And yes, biology will tell you that that is attributed to a certain physical strength that is more prevalent in men than it is in women. But now coming to Africa, and where patriarchy originated in Africa, I was doing some research on my own, and I realized a very big problem. And we should discuss this as a separate topic some other time. I realized that a lot of historical facts from Africa are undocumented. So if you want to do research on patriarchy in Africa, you find yourself bombarded by conflicting ideologies about how it originated. But from my own perspective, and these are very personal thoughts, I would think that the origin of modern patriarchy in Africa is colonialism. I think that patriarchal systems were introduced, the current ones, they were introduced into Africa through colonization. And I talk about colonialism. If you look at historical facts, there are no historical facts of patriarchy outside, within Africa, but there are records of patriarchal systems outside Africa, the Western world, the colonizers.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think modern patriarchy in Africa was introduced through colonialism, and of course, it was reinforced by very subtle forms of it, such as religion. look at some religions such as, for instance, the very prevalent theory of creation and the Bible. You know, if patriarchy brings objectification in current systems, I think the number one, motivator and things that make that true every day is the Bible, Christianity. I think the Bible is one of the greatest sources of objectification of women, and restoring and creating and supporting those systems of power and privilege. So
Okay.
Okay.
Kemani, sorry. Kemani, let me cut you short there. There seems to be a problem with your sound. I'm having difficulties hearing you. Please check on that. Please. Because I'm having difficulties hearing you. I'm sure also, I don't know, Natasha, can you hear Kemani quite well?
Sorry, I was muted. There's a weird sound coming somewhere.
Yeah. I'm also getting it from some of our viewers. So, Kemani, please check on that. He'll be back. So I can see some comments coming in before Kemani comes back. Natasha, allow go through them. I can see Charles Ngacha saying, "Good session, guys. Live, love, and love." Saying tuned. And live, love, and love. Saying Kimani sauti kidogo ruruma. So yeah. You have gotten that. He's checking up on that. We have Barbara Jerry saying, on the FGM topic, women did start and drive the whole situation. This is now where negative cultural practices and beliefs come in. How men contribute to it till now is not speaking against it. Okay. I'm sure Natasha, you want to say something to in relation to that?
I'm actually on my phone trying to look for my lecturer and ask him.
Yeah.
Did women really start FGM? Because the whole point of FGM was to what? Preserve a girl's virginity and to make sure she's also not cheating on her husband. That sounds quite patriarchal to me. I mean, it sounds, why would I do that to myself? But let's see. I could be misinformed.
Yeah, okay, but I also get to understand, Natasha. Yeah, they were doing it because they wanted to please the men, because of the patriarchal system. But also, just the other day, that I'm for it. Just some few years ago, we are hearing here in Kenya and some parts of Samburu and all that, women are hiding some of the girls to go and undergo such kind of practices, and you wonder now who is the perpetrator.
Whoever started, we're not sure. Because Google has not told me. But whoever is making that practice continue clearly, and whoever should be at the forefront of fighting it is women. If women said, you're not for this, you're not standing for this, you're not letting our daughters go through this, we're not going through this, I do not think FGM will still be a conversation until today. But somehow, the urge to please women is, the urge to please men is still driving women to that point. And that is not men's fault. It's not men's fault.
Okay, but at least you have mentioned something, and I'm glad you have agreed that women have a role, in making these things. But okay, FGM is not our topic for today. FGM is not our topic for today. But live, love, and love is saying man empowered it indirectly, but because they are the community's voice, their silence and silly policies made it possible to grow. Yeah, that is true, 100%. Now, Kimani, before we had a problem with your sound, I don't know if you can now hear us. You're getting us clearly?
Yes, I can hear you, Washira. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can now hear you clearly, and we'll just have you to go again with that question so that we can get you. I was wondering whether the problem was on my end. Until now, I'm getting,
comments from other people. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Ashira. Like I was saying, you had asked me about the history of. I was responding to your question about the history of patriarchy in Africa, and had suggested to first discuss the origin of patriarchy as a whole. And and I was trying to trace it to the theories we have of origin. There is a creation story where God created man first. I'm not sure how true that is. If you trace other theories in societies, in the Agikuyu, you'll hear that he created Ekuyu and then created Mumbi. If you trace other, if you trace the theories of origin, you'll realize that if at all these theories were not created by patriarchal systems, if these are the true theories of origin, then you can trace patriarchal systems to that. But coming to Africa, I like to argue that the greatest source of patriarchy in Africa, the current form of it, not the previous form, the current form of it, I think it was brought by colonial systems. I think colonialism is the greatest source of patriarchy in Africa, the current form of patriarchy, because that patriarchy system before the colonial era, one, it is undocumented, but I would think that if it is, as Natasha says, created from utility. By utility, I mean a certain gender is more predisposed and more able to provide than the other, then that is a very subtle form of patriarchy system that actually works. That boys are taught that you're supposed to provide for your family. You're not supposed to raise your hand on a woman. That's a very, I dare to call it a very subtle way of bringing society and keeping people in order. Because if that is the patriarchy that actually was brought, and that
Wait.
existed, what, Natasha?
Wait. Actually, no. The same boys who are taught to protect and provide are the same boys who are told that if you don't beat your wife, she's not going to listen to you. So you're lying to us. You're lying. Wife battering. Listen, wife battering was a thing. Wife battering was a thing in the past, and I think it has only been fought until recently. But wife beating, in fact, in some Kenyan communities, I don't want to mention which ones, even the wives themselves, they believe if they're not beaten, they're not loved.
You see, now that's Natasha.
No, because you said
it confirms my point. Actually, it confirms my point.
It's not. I was actually inaitwa wangu nilikuwa na contrast kizungu imeenda. I was like contrasting your point because you said these people are taught not to raise your hands at women. No, they were not.
You did not.
To be a man, you had to beat your wife. Yes,
Okay.
And I'm sure deep down, both of you know that it's true.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Okay. I'll bite into your premise. You see, those characters that you I don't call them characters. Those points that you're raising about the negative effects of patriarchal systems, on women. Look at this. Let's try and apply some deductive logic, right? Follow if you can. Now, for us to conclusively agree that patriarchy as a system is bad for all women, first we have to ubiquitously agree that those women do not have power, right? I'm waiting for your response.
Actually, I have a problem with you saying it does not work for all women. The word "all."
Okay, fine.
Because we can say for majority, we can say for in the 21st century for majority of the women, it doesn't work.
It does not work.
Yeah.
It does not work. Yeah.
I'm saying I was correcting your use of the word all women.
Okay, guys. Okay. It's just getting a little bit hot here, and we're getting the view, and I can see Live, Laugh, and Love saying, Kimani, you're back better now. Good, thank you for that. Yeah, Live, Laugh, and Love saying, man empowered. Yeah, I think I'd read that. And then we have when a daughter refused the cat, she will be lied to that you are shaming your father. Okay.
I imagine.
I like Natasha's reaction to that. The reaction to that text.
But then you have meeting a man is the beginning of all evil. Aye, this is just getting what?
Okay.
It's just getting hot. Okay, we have who said to be beaten is to be corrected in love. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Before we go there,
Yes,
let
yes.
us go back to the question because we have not even answered the question. I want us to dive into the question of today. Does patriarchy work for women in Africa? Natasha, in all honesty, please, without fear of contradiction or favor, or I don't even like I say ill will. And
Malicious
you are an
intentions.
African.
Hey,
Yes,
listen, I'm not
you're
that
an African,
terrible
and
person.
you can bear witness and tell us whether has it been working for? Has there been anything good that has come from patriarchy for women in Africa, Natasha?
First of all, clearly, I'm a 21st century woman, so I'm very comfortable sitting on the fence on this one, but leaning mostly to the side that it does not work. And I am making this decision or judgment based on whatever we have right now, the 21st century men and women. Yes.
Okay.
Chris has a smirk on his face. So.
Yeah, Chris, please react to the same question.
Yes. Yes. She's trying to point out that there's a smirk on my face. That smirk is because I can just see the hypocrisy in what she's saying. Natasha wants to sit
Wow.
on the fence. She wants to sit on the fence, without presenting, without leaning. Because you're told you're sitting on the fence. That means the side of you that is very convinced that it actually works, and that is the side that you're not willing to accept, and you'd rather sit on the fence rather than speak it out loud. Because if it was not working, you'd be very quick to point it out. But returning to Ashira's initial question, I would think that it works, and I would give these reasons. You see, if it was not working, if it was not working, and it was actually very disadvantageous to women, then as a system, that would negate its existence in the first place. To expound on that, I mean, if at all a system is not working, then if at all a system that incorporates both, men and women is not working, then only two things can the logical explanation for that would be one, either one side is very dominant over the other to the point that the other one cannot, yank themselves from the grasp, or the other side, which is, forgive me for using these quotes, oppressed, does not have their own free will and to correct that. I think that's not the case for you guys. I'm sure you have the free will to actually speak out about that. I'll not go as far as to say that there are no disadvantages of patriarchy systems on women, but I point out the hypocrisy of women, wanting to ride that wave of the benefits and of riding the waves of the benefits and refusing to accept that they're riding that wave and being very vocal and pointing out the disadvantages. I'll point out that hypocrisy. I have to point that out.
Okay. Natasha, please, I want you to hold yourself because whatever is coming next is more fiery than that. Somebody allow me not to say who this is. There's a comment coming in, not on YouTube.
Is she or a he? You just know it's coming from.
Disclose that. And the person is saying,
because
the person is saying, these women who are gender, Germany, they are toxic because they don't want to say the truth. They don't want to appreciate men. They want to stay in the fence. They just don't want to say something is good, as in there was a good thing about it, because men on the other end, they do appreciate when something is, when women have done good things for them, yeah, but I know you'll react to that, but as you are reacting to that, please, okay, just react to it very briefly before I post the next comment here.
I genuinely don't think there's a problem or there's a difficulty in women appreciating men. Women do that every single day. And I'm not saying men do not appreciate women. They also do that every other single day, every time, in fact. But my point is, if I have to choose between what was there during the serious patriarchal times before feminism and what is there post-feminism, I'd rather live in this world where I can have an education rather than be married off. Right now, I'd probably be having 16 kids. So I'd rather have this world here where I can choose an education. I have my own sexual and reproductive rights. I get to decide. I can own property. I can own land. I can decide that 20 is too young for me to get married. I'll get married at 35, and that's fine. Compared to a world where someone sits somewhere and decides now she's 13, she started having her period, so she's going to get married. FGM and marriage. That is not the world that I want for myself or for other girls for that matter. That's why I feel this is all sitting on the fence, because the protection part is good, but again, the other things that are coming with it are not that much beneficial.
Okay. You know, I don't know why people today are deciding to put some comments on somewhere where it's not public, especially on YouTube, because somebody's just saying, yeah, 35 hiyo ameenda sana.
Mbona ananiamulia? Mbona ana decide on my behalf, you see?
Okay. But now we have Live, Love, and Love saying that this conversation we need like 35 women here. It is got a ban. And then Barbara and Jerry saying, Natasha, no, we shouldn't agree. And Barbara and Jerry still saying, Kimani, calm, slow. It's not hypocrisy. It's playing the man's game in the patriarchal world. Oh, I think that's a fair way to put it, Barbara, because they normally say the best way to beat your enemies is to play within their rules and games and beat them at their own game. I think that's also a good way to look at it. And then you have Live, Laugh, and Love saying, women plus money, common sense left, and the biblical mandate lost immediately. And that's why they're very toxic, bossy, and that's why they don't respect men at all. Okay.
Can I just talk about that? Can I talk about that?
Wait. Before you talk about that, it is just getting come on. Natasha, before you talk about that, let me go back to you, Kimani. And I'm not going back to you because it's a patriarchal world. We're talking about a patriarchy, and especially in matters in Africa. I want people to get that quite well. Patriarchy in Africa, and especially when it is affecting women in the manner that it is. And right now, Kimani, you can agree with us. As Natasha said, she's a 21st century woman. We're also 21st century men. So for us also, we are getting to see that men are getting attracted to this issue of masculinity, which women have decided to call it toxic masculinity, but people can have different views on it. And we can now see people, especially men, are really now getting attracted and, acquainted with this issue of masculinity that is being preached. We have the likes of Kibe, we have the likes of Amerix here in Kenya, we have the likes of Tate, abroad. So why does this thing then becomes attractive to this 21st century men, if you want to put it as such? Why is it beautiful to them? Why does it make sense to them? Is it patriarchy now in the modern sense, or it is just the modern way, that has nothing to do with patriarchy in Africa? Kimani.
Yes, thank you, Ashera. I want to begin. I want to begin my response with a quote I was told by a person, and I really laughed. That person told me that if a man does not recognize, if a snake does not recognize it is a snake, women will use it to dry firewood. What does that tell you? Like, I don't know. It is like, if you don't recognize your worth, then someone is going to misuse who you are. So I think that the attraction that young men like ourselves are having to whatever is labeled as toxic masculinity. Of course, there are people who are spreading toxic traits of masculinity, which tend to objectify and treat. I'm not going to say women, other human beings, other than they should be treated. But I think the side that is very welcoming and enticing towards men, I think it is the connection to the identity, because if I tell someone, an apple cannot yield an orange, that cannot happen. So I think
Yeah.
that attraction towards that certain characteristics of being a man, I think it is simply attraction to one's own identity, because the truth is, men are men, women are women, and in as much as this might sound very controversial, there are things that a man can do better than a woman, and there are things that a woman can do better than a man. That is just pure rational qualitative distinction. But if you go ahead and try to propagate an idea of I heard someone calling it radical egoism. We want to treat everyone equally, regardless of those very subtle qualitative distinctive features.
Okay.
That would mean that someone is aspiring to be something that they are not. I think that attraction is just men being attracted to what they are. And if women were to embrace their femininity and things that are associated with them, I think the world would be a very good place, other than trying to become people that we are not. Because if you're a woman and you're trying to become a man, then that is just, there's something very contradictory about that.
Okay. I get you. I hear you, Kimani, loud and clear. And Natasha, I know you really want to react. I just want to hold you a little bit there because I want to make it a little bit hot. I can see some comments which I'm sure they're going to make you, Natasha, react to the very best. There is somebody by the name Live, Laugh, and Love had posted a comment, about women plus money, common sense left, and the biblical mandate lost immediately, and that's why they were very toxic, bossy, and that's why they don't respect men at all. And then he goes ahead and says that empowering these people is okay, but hey, these people are never appreciative. They pretend to saints when it's beneficial to them. And then Barbara Njeri says now, you see the toxic comment from Live, Love, whatever such notions from men are super harmful, okay? And then we have Dev Nguyai saying that, so where exactly is the patriarchy? If women already have all the rights Natasha has mentioned, okay, Natasha, so that is up for you to react to it. And then just two more comments coming from TM Kamande saying, honest debate, which my feminist friend may not possibly engage in, should anchor an objectivity vis-a-vis emotion if patriarchy has worked even for women since time immemorial. What's wrong with it? Okay, TM. And then he says patriarchy works even for women, except for their growing ego due to super feministic desires for control. High time for the masculine energy to reassert patriarchy. Okay, the comments are coming in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for continuing watching live. Natasha, please react.
Let me take a deep breath first. So someone said someone said it's high time for whatever masculinity to reassert patriarchy. So clearly, when you say I have to assert something, it is not something that is agreed on by the majority of population. In this case, who is the majority of population? It is women. So when you need to reassert patriarchy to a system or to a country or to a people, you are forcing it down on them. This is how I'm seeing it. This is how I'm actually getting that statement. That right there sounds like a statement that is saying, it's like, I am forcing you to eat ugali because that is what I want you to eat. Are you seeing my point? Yes. And this other person talked about women not being respectful to men. I'm sorry. I do not know what women, I'm not apologizing. It's not an apology. Just get me straight. I am not sure what women you guys have been interacting with, but I'm sure a well-educated woman is very respectful, not just to men, but to any human being. Sometimes I like to think I'm an example of a woman who is respectful.
Natasha? What about the uneducated ones? What about those people who are not good?
They definitely, okay, I want to assume when he said being respectful, he meant in terms of being submissive. He is talking about a woman who has an education, a woman who's working, driving her own Lexus, whatever, the one that Calligraph Jones has, the kind of car. That woman who feels like she may have it all. You have to understand that in the past, as a man, all you had to do was to be a man to impress a woman. And this woman will submit to you. irregardless, because all you had to do was just be a man.
I have a
Because
question about
you
that.
could provide. Let me finish. Because you could provide. I mean, that was your job. But right now, in this century, right now, especially even like in our country, Kenya, all of us are going out there to work, to bring something to the table, to provide something. All of us wake up in the morning, we go to work, we have to come back in the evening. I probably have to think about what are we going to eat. So when I if I have to submit to you, what is it that you're doing as a man that is making me want to submit to you? Are you being respectful to me? Are you being kind to me? Is that chivalry in you? Is it there? You know, at least that is the way, like, I like to see it. That is the way you can come and say that a 21st century woman who maybe has her own, that is how she would probably want to submit to a man who makes her want to submit and not forces her, not asserts. There's a difference. Women will fight that assertion right now, because there's no way you're going to tell me you're going to split the bills and you still want me to split my time for you and still submit to you. I do not feel your presence there. I do not. Yeah, Chris.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That last point you raised, it's very nice, because that would be just double standards, and which brings me to ask the question: Are men? I think control is power. Control is power. Money is power. So I want to ask: Are men? To use your words, or rather to use the colloquialism of dominant and controlling. Are men really that high up the patriarchal tree because they are men, or because they have money, or because they have are men because of the gender being men, or what they represent, or what they have?
Okay. Before Natasha, you answer that. I can see Barbara Jerry saying, "Well said, Natasha. Well said," and she's saying also that I think men should also be educated on what feminism is. The idea works for all of us, both men and women. Okay, so Natasha, please go ahead.
Can Chris said what he said before? I was really focused on Barbara's comment. Can Chris repeat what he said?
Yes. You're basking on the compliment.
Yes.
Yes. No, when you were basking on the compliment, I was asking,
Yeah.
are men respected for being men, like the gender, I'm a man, or are they respected because of, let's just get to it, utility, what this person can provide? Because I think that the whole, power in any system, even amongst men themselves, power and control is very associated with what a person represents. And when I say what a person represents, I mean what it is that they can provide. Money is always associated with power and control. Like, someone is respected because they have achieved such and such a thing. So are men, I don't think we no longer live in a society where someone is respected because they are man. I think men are respected, the ones that are respected, because of whatever it is they can provide. And if we can agree on that, before we agree on that, please answer my question. Are men respected because they are men, or is it because of what they represent, the provision, as you were saying?
Can I answer that in terms of women?
No, just answer the question the way it was posed.
I'm pretty sure I can answer the way I said. Okay, let me start with women then. Mm-hmm. Being a woman, from experience, okay, no, I'm not yet there, but from what I've seen all the women go through, you are not simply just respected for being a woman. You are being respected for being a woman, in caps, for like your ultimate goal in this world, as society has put it for you, is to give birth and breastfeed and nurture a child. So it does not matter what you have as a woman. It does not matter property, land, education, what kind of achievements you have. It doesn't matter. Like, a woman is, and I like to say it's kind of a reduction in what a woman can do in the world and to the world and for the world and even in the family. So that being said, what is it that makes a man a man? Is it just having a certain reproductive organ, or is it whatever that represents? I'm sorry for that. Is it what masculinity presents? Because nurturing is seen as a feminine trait. Probably that is what attracts men to women. So for a woman, I'm pretty sure in this century, I don't think it matters really how much you provide, because there are a lot of couples where women are earning way, way more than men. But it's about your character as a man. I would say that. Again, my opinion. Your character as a man. You are masculine, yes, you have that masculinity trait about you. But at the same time, are you able to bring yourself to a point where you understand the kind of woman you have and what she wants and how she'd like to be treated? Because why this respect and disrespect and non-submission is coming in is because you have a man and all he believes is that as long as he brings money to the house, you guys are fine. That's it. That's all. But that is not the case. That is not the case with a modern woman. She wants you to pay attention. That is when she will feel that I can actually trust this man enough to submit to him and let him make decisions and trust him enough to run along with them. Have I answered your question, Chris?
Yes, you've answered my question, but you've really beat around the bush. The point that
I know. Thanks.
It's either you're refusing to recognize it, which by the way I think you should, because it is, I don't know, it's just a very it's quite direct. I think that men are more respected because of whatever it is that they bring to the table. I was saying another joke there at times that a certain feminist on Twitter was saying that the problem with current marriages is because men want to marry submissive providers. Like, they want to marry someone who is submissive, who is also providing for them. That is very ridiculous. And whatever well, I agree with their sentiments. Whatever they did not complete is that at the same time, yes, men want to marry submissive providers, but at the same time, women do not want to marry poor authoritarians. So I want to insist on that point of utility. Yeah, I can see you laughing at the poor authoritarian joke. Yeah, it is that utility that brings respect. Like, even between men themselves, someone is respected because of whatever it is they represent, whatever amount of money they have. So if at all we live in a world where we are all at equal levels to compete in the economic sector and provide some things for ourselves, by some things I mean something for ourselves, I mean money and resources and everything, then I don't know. Then I think would agree that whatever respect that comes is because of what someone brings. So is the discussion here really about gender, or is it the ability to actually bring something to the table? And that's the point I wanted you to respond to me. But perhaps we can address this at some other time. I think we are hogging the discussion.
Yes.
Oshira, please take over.
No, listen, Chris. We have.
No worries. Okay, I'm getting you. I'm also learning. Remember, I'm also hearing your comments. I'm getting to hear both sides of the divide, and it's a conversation that should be held. But let me also tell you some of the things that are being said here. Some of the comments I can see live, laugh, and love saying, but with this ego, with women, every success has a hand of a man in it, because a man is ordained as a god in earth. But this woman, sijui what we can do now. Okay, and then he says the order of nature is clear. Men should be the head and should be respected, period. And then we have Devin Goyang say, I am very curious if men are afforded the same latitude to describe what a woman is. Dev, I really like that comment. Because I don't know. We always have problems, especially like today. I think yesterday, I was watching a video, or I don't know if you guys saw last week. There was this man who's, I think, a taxi driver, an online taxi service provider, driver. who was driving a certain lady who appeared to be drunk to their place. And she was there abusing her, all these names, and mind you, this person is trying to help them. And then now I was looking at a video now, this man was brought and was being asked, and I was saying that, if it was a man who, now, if in short, if the things had changed, how will it be turned out to, as in, it was not a really pretty good scenario. And we all agree it's because of, the gender that was represented there. Things become different in such kind of scenarios. But Natasha, you had something to say. Please go ahead and briefly. Time is not on our side right now. And I'm also curious to just hear what you'll say on also as you are reacting to what David has said. What Dave has said, because Dave is also curious, what will have been the case? Natasha, I don't know if you want to react to this.
He's clearly wanting men to describe what a woman is. So, there are two men here. So, Washira, let's start with you. Let's start with you. I know you're not used to this, but
before we get there, I will describe that. But before we get there, I want just to understand, before even we describe itself, why is it a problem for women, for men to describe what a woman is? Because you people are busy always saying a man should be this, a man is this, a good man is this. You have even done it right now on the show. Like, a man should be, provide, should do this. You're basically describing what a man is, and okay, there's no problem with that. But now the problem comes in when we describe what a woman is. When we say a woman should be this, now all gates of hell now turn loose, and people now start having problems on this earth. That's what I'm asking,
you want me to describe what a woman is? Is that what I'm getting?
No, I don't want you to describe what a woman is. I just want to understand what you think if women should be described as men. With men, or because even these days they're being described as men. The way you can manipulate.
No, for you, sorry, for you to have your ideal partner, you have to at least describe them.
But no.
When men are trying to describe women, I don't know if you've heard men describing women. They're very undecided on what exactly they want.
No, listen, Natasha. Let me rephrase what I was saying. I do understand you're trying to bring in the concept of a marriage or a relationship, a romantic relationship, yeah. But and especially with a partner and all that. But just in a layman perspective, without the issue of relationship being there, just a blank way. Is there a problem when women are described by men?
But haven't women been described by men all the years? Isn't that what is going on? Isn't that what gave birth to feminism?
And then what is the problem now?
Isn't that why we're saying there's patriarchy?
And then
the problem is the description that is given of women by men or by older women is that you are limited to a certain specific thing. Do men have those limitations really? Does it matter whether you are married? Does it matter whether you have kids? Does it matter whether you do not have an education? Are you seeing my point?
Yeah.
Are you understanding? Chris is not even nodding. Are you alive? At the very least, are you alive?
Yes, I'm trying to get the point because you've not made it yet.
I feel like women have been described all over the years, and it is that description that women are trying to say, we are that, but we are more than that. I am a sister, I am a mother. No, I'm not a mother, but the point. Well, they are mothers, nurturers, but they are also people who can work in offices. They are also people who can work to bring to the family, to contribute to the community's development. Are you trying to see my point? I'm not just limited within the household, because that is a description that women found or that were given of them. By whom? I do not know. Could be men, could be fellow women. I do not know that. Yes.
Okay. Loud and clear. Heard you, Natasha, loud and clear. Kimani, is there anything that you want to say in that regard?
No, yeah, I think you've asked one question, but Natasha has replied a variation of it. You know, I believe the question you're asking, Oshira, was the way you hear women saying that a man, I've never understood why that happens, but you'll hear people talking, you'll hear women talking, and you'll hear them being very vocal about what a man should be. And I've really never understood why someone should describe something that they are not. Anyway, but I believe whatever question you're asking is whether men are accorded the exact same replica, but inverted the other way. Whether women are accorded, whether men are accorded the same way to describe men. But Natasha's response was what towards the the conventional expectations, not definitions, expectations. There's quite a difference.
But for a woman, there's no difference. It's the same thing. There's no difference.
Okay, I get your point. But if we were to continue this discussion, you see, those definitions are really about utility, and this is my greatest point and my greatest concern, because people are not willing to talk about it, and either they are not willing to talk about it or they just don't get it. You know, those definitions all work around utility, and by utility I mean whatever it is that a person can do. Now, personally, I believe I would subscribe to a utopia where everyone is respected because of what they can do, regardless of their gender. That is a very good way of living. But that I'm certain that will not happen, at least not in our lifetime. But those definitions that revolve around utility, whatever it is that a woman is as you said, respected because they'll do how shows A, B, C, D. And a man will be respected because they'll provide A, B, C, D. Those all revolve around utility. Okay. But again, we are not in those traditional times where those definitions are as restricting as it is. Yes, we now respect, not respect. We are seeing women, working in, as you said, as working in offices and competing for the same economic positions as men do. But before I make assumptions, before I make generalizations, I like to base my arguments on statistics, and not statistics at the extreme ends of that bell curve. The bell curve, by the bell curve I mean that statistical curve. I like to base my conclusions on the majority. So statistics suggest that much of the wealth is it's still owned by men. Of course, if you want to factor in factors such as inheritance, you can. But I'm just convinced how that gender difference in utility, and by utility I mean resources, is yet not closed. Is it closed because women are oppressed in competing for economic opportunities, or is it because men are simply better at looking for money? I think that the discussion we should have, because basically that is just qualitative distinction. Someone is more equipped at doing something than the other, and that all brings back to our definition. I was asking, are men really men respected because of being men, or is it because whatever it is they can provide? I believe we should have this discussion sometime.
Okay. Thank you, Kimani, for that. Natasha, please, I'd like to give you this chance to give us your final comments as we wrap up the show, and just react to what has been said there. Please, briefly, Natasha.
First of all, I do not think that men are better when it comes to looking for money. I just like to say it's because over the years the systems have been in such a way, or the policies have been in such a way, that it is the men that are looking for the money. So until date, obviously, if your father had wealth, it is your brother that is going to inherit, not you as a woman. You're going to live in your husband's house, who has his father's wealth. When it comes to a business, they're going to, when they're giving the higher positions, it's going to be about men, simply because the policies in the system have been in such a way that women are seen as, you take care of the household, we'll take care of the offices and the infrastructure and everything else. But right now, I'm pretty sure we have the households where the women are providing. I'm pretty sure they're doing quite well. And then there's something else that Chris said about marriages and men being. I mean, you have rich men being divorced. Bill and Melinda Gates. Why? Why? He's probably one of the richest men, but why? Why did they break up? That's what I'm trying to say. For now, it's just not about how much money you have. It's more than that. It's way, way more than that. And I feel like we should be having a discussion. For instance, what is it that men want and what is it that women want? Because I'm very sure at our age right now, a lot of us have that question. We're asking ourselves, and we cannot even answer that because I don't know. We just have very different ideas. I'd like to close and just say that with great power comes great responsibility, which is a quote I stole from the Spider-Man franchise. Yeah, just think about it. I mean, patriarchy has granted men a lot of power, so that also comes with some sort of responsibility. And maybe women over the years have been able to evade, and I'm putting that in quotes, some responsibility. Where a lot of men like saying, if you argue with a woman, you can never win the argument. It may be true, it may be not, but if you have been given a certain power, use it well, and not just to your advantage, but also to the advantage of others. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Natasha, for that, and also thank you very much for coming to the show. Kimani, please, your final comments very briefly.
Yes, thank you. I don't know about Natasha or everyone else, but I think that whatever it is that most people are looking for, regardless of whether they know it or not, it's just a good life. And I'll have to point out that there's a very unique and ubiquitous point that most people do not recognize that constitutes a good life. And you usually try to have a good life without money. So when I'm talking about money, I'm not talking about money is a very robotic point that is trying to eliminate emotion from it. I'm talking from it from a very rational, logical point of view. So I don't know, in a world where we'll be all trying to look for a good life. Yes, money comes a great way of doing this. And to add on that, you see, there's a point, Natasha, you raised about that gender wealth equality. I was reading an article, a research article from Harvard that was saying that among the reasons why the majority of the wealth is distributed in men than it is for women, it is because it's really not because of that patriarchal system of inheritance, but because of the tendency of men to engage in more riskier businesses than for women. That was their finding, because they found out that majority of wealth owned by women is sort of lodged mostly in real estate and property, whatever. But for men, it was a lot in businesses. And to sum that up, I think that the topic today was patriarchal system. So I think patriarchy, like I said at the beginning, was born as a good concept, but it was turned into whatever it is today. But if everyone was to embrace whoever it is, was to embrace what makes them the person that they are because of their gender, and by embracing, I do not mean there's a difference between engaging and trying to enforce. By embracing, you're just recognizing that you are that and embracing it. That does not give you the right to look upon the other person because of their gender or anything. So personally, I believe in a genderless society where people are respected because of whatever it is they are, and whatever it is that people are respected for, it's because of qualities that they have. And if you were to embrace that, then patriarchal system or not, we would live in a very good society that everyone is happy and there is no domination or oppression. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Kimani, for that. Also, thank you for coming to the show today. It's a very interesting conversation here, and I think it is not a one-time conversation. Natasha, do you have something to say? Yeah, briefly, please.
Just one sentence. This is something that I really, really, really strongly believe in, and I'd like to share it with the ladies. The biggest, strongest power you can ever have, being a female, is being a woman in a man's world. That is like when you're playing cards, that's your Congress card. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Add something to that.
Sorry, Kimani?
Yes, I want to add something to that. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And I saw someone who was talking about that, and they were actually, their point of view was from a sarcastic point of view. They were trying to mock men who are very easily manipulated by women's feminism, not feminism, by women's feminine
Femininity.
characteristics. Yes, femininity. Yes, and there was someone at the response who was saying that. If at all it is that easy to manipulate, men, like to shine as a woman in a man's world, then I believe that women have a lot of power. And then the discussion that we're having about control, dominance, and everything should not be existing. And then the most interesting part was the other discussion. Comment down there that was saying that for a generation that is constantly shaming and saying all those bad things about men, a lot of you are married and pregnant. I'm not going to add to that, but I don't know. It was a good point because it is very contradictory. You cannot be here beating the drums about how something bad is, but you are living definition and manifestation of the same. No hard feelings, just a summary of a Twitter battle between warring parties. Thank you.
I've heard you. Thank you very much for that. I can see Live, Laugh and Love saying, I think one day the whole earth should gather somewhere with the 24 elders in heaven to have this discussion. It's heavy like chasing Nyakero. And then we have Kevin Derito saying, money is the key for a man. That makes you a better leader. And then we have Mwangi Masharia, Natasha, tunakuona sana.
The word.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for everybody who has watched us live. Thank you for everybody who's going to watch this later. We do appreciate it very much. Also, remember, the key here is to have this discussion that empowers us, that empowers young people in Africa, that empowers people in Africa to have this discussion and to know that these are things that should be talked about, and it is our right to know this and talk about this. This coming Wednesday, we are going to have State of the Continent, where we're going to be talking about Maandamano here in Kenya. So stay tuned for that. And also, stay tuned for the next African Kona coming up next Sunday. You never know, we might have this discussion again, because I think there are a lot of things that have gone unsaid, and there are people who just cannot wait for the next conversation. Nevertheless, thank you very much for, tuning live, and also in a very special manner. Thank you to our guest here, Natasha and Kimani, for that engagement. We do not take it for granted. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful week ahead. My name is Mutadhiwa Shirawanyaga. Dayo.